The LA Kings underwhelm on the first day of free agency. That and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love for you to leave us a positive comment on Apple Podcasts if you're a fan of the show. And we're on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years, 20 plus years at the Fox Sports Radio Network. I'm also co-host of the Puck Podcast, a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the last 17 years, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more this summer. FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There is something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Well, the Kings wrapped up the NHL Draft over the weekend. They also made a trade. The Kings gave out some qualifying offers, and on Monday morning, they opened up the rookie development camp. It is a busy time right now for the LA Kings, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about all that and how the draft picks were to be and how they looked at the development camp. But today, this episode is all about what the Kings did or didn't do to help themselves, as this was the first day, July 1st, that teams in the NHL could officially sign unrestricted free agents. What would GM Rob Blake do? We know he's not shy about making trades, but he's been pretty underwhelming in his career as Kings GM when it comes to free agent signings. How would he do this time going into the final year of his contract? Would he make a big splash? As for the Kings, what did they need? What were they looking for? Well, they were expected to be looking for a good second or third line winger or center, depending on what their plans are with Quentin Byfield, and a left shot defenseman. Now, if you're an everydayer, I said last week heading into free agency, I did not think the Kings were in any realistic shape to make a run at any of the big names out there. The big time forwards, Jake Gensel, he goes to Tampa Bay, 7 years, $63 million, $9 million per season. Steven Stamkos goes to Nashville, 4 years, $42 million. He's getting $8 million per season. Jonathan Marchessault also went to Nashville. He got 5 years, $27.5 million, $5.5 million per year. Now, he is 33 years old, but I thought that was a pretty reasonable contract for a guy who is a very good player. I like him a lot. I would have loved for the Kings to have gone after him at something around that price if possible. How about the big-time left shot defenseman? You had Jacob Slavin. He stays in Carolina, 8 years, $51.69 million, $6.46 million per year. He wanted to play in Carolina. They were able to give him the extra year because he re-signed with them. Brady Shea also goes to Nashville. How about the Predators? 7 years, $49 million. He's making $7 million per season. Okay, so what about the next tier of forwards and left shot defensemen? Kings would have a realistic shot at signing some of these guys, like Jake DeBrusk. Well, he goes to Vancouver, 7 years, $38.5 million. He gets $5.5 million per season. Chandler Stevenson, he goes to Seattle, 7 years, $43.75 million, $6.25 million per season. Max Domi decided he wanted to stay in Toronto, 4 years, $15 million, $3.75 million per season. Tyler Bertuzzi goes to Chicago, 4 years, $22 million, $5.5 million per season. And Jeff Skinner goes to Edmundson, 1 year and $3 million. I thought those were names that the Kings could potentially all be interested in, but they didn't land any of those guys. How about the left shot defenseman? Well, Nikita Zadorov, I would have loved for the Kings to be able to get. He goes to Boston, 6 years, $30 million, $5 million per year. I thought that was a price that if I was the Kings, I would be able to go in on and maybe give him a little bit more. But that didn't happen. Brandon Dillon goes to New Jersey, 3 years, $12 million, $4 million per season. Dmitry Kulikov just won a cup in Florida. He goes back to the Panthers, 4 years, $4.6 million, $1.15 million per season. Maybe he gives them a discount because he wants to stay with the defending Stanley Cup champs. And Alec Martinez. Now, there's certainly some sentimentality here, but he goes to Chicago, 1 year, $4 million. So who did the Kings get? Well, LA picked up forward Warren Foegele and defenseman Joel Edmundson. Fogel's 28, He gets a 3-year deal worth $10.5 million, $3.5 million per season. Okay. The 31-year-old Edmundson gets a 4-year deal worth $15.4 million, $3.85 million per season. I don't care for the length of that deal at all, frankly. I don't think we want this guy around for 4 more years to be our third pairing defenseman. And look, these guys aren't bums, but it's hard to believe that was the best the Kings could do. I would have been thrilled to see the Kings pick up a Jonathan Marchessault and a Nikita Zorov. I would have been over the moon, frankly, if they would have picked up those two guys. And I thought their contracts and what they got was pretty reasonable as far as what the Kings are looking to pay. You could argue maybe Marchessault 6 years or a guy of his age. Maybe that's a little much, but okay. It's hard to think that the Kings couldn't have done better and shouldn't have done better. And the roster, as it looks now, and we'll get more into this coming up, certainly doesn't look as good as it did at the end of last season when the Kings were almost swept out of the first round of the playoffs. And I guess there's still time for the Kings to add something, but there's not much left after a wild day of free agency. So before we give you the details on Warren Foegele and Joel Edmundson and let you decide for yourself, I did want to mention that defenseman Matt Roy went to the Washington Capitals, 6 years, $34.5 million, $5.75 million per season. We told you he was going to cash in. He did, and he deserved it. Victor Arvidsson goes to the Edmonton Oilers, 2 years, $8 million, $4 million per season. Honestly, I would have been okay re-signing him for that, even with the injury history, considering what the Kings ended up with. Forward Blake Lizotte goes to Pittsburgh, 2 years, $3.7 million. He gets $1.85 million per season. I'm okay letting Lizotte walk for that. Look, love the effort, love everything he gave us, but I'm okay with that. And Cam Talbot, obviously, the writing was on the wall after Darcy Kemper. He goes to the Detroit Red Wings, 2 years, $5 million, $2.5 million per season. As for Warren Foegele, he's a left shot winger, not a right shot winger like Victor Arvidsson. He's a left shot winger, which we have a lot of. He was a 3rd-round pick of the Carolina Hurricanes in 2014. He's described as a play-driving two-way winger with above-average skating ability who contributes on the forecheck and creates scoring chances at a strong rate. He scored 20 goals last season despite playing 4th-line minutes. 143 career games for Foegele with the Hurricanes and Oilers. He's got 80 goals and 83 assists for 163 points. He set career highs in goals and points last season with 20 and 41. Played 22 playoff games for the Oilers on their way to the Stanley Cup Final. He finished with 3 goals and 5 assists for 8 points in the postseason this past year. Warren Foegele I like Warren Foegele. I think he'll be a solid 3rd-line winger for us. I just got to say, though, I was looking for something a little bit more. I think there were better players out there. I don't dislike him. I think he does a lot of things that helps teams win. But when you're looking for one forward, the Kings to go out and get one forward, I just feel like they could have done better than that. As for Joel Edmundson, left shot defenseman, he was a 2nd-round draft pick of the St. Louis Blues back in 2011. He's described as a physical defensive depth defenseman. They listed him as a cross-checking aficionado, which is funny. Says he doesn't do anything with the puck, and while he clears the crease he does give up a lot of scoring chances in close as well. 530 games in the NHL for Joel Edmundson with the Blues, Hurricanes, Canadiens, Capitals, and Maple Leafs. He's got 29 goals and 81 assists for 110 points. Last season with Washington and Toronto, where he was a trade deadline pickup by the Leafs, he played 53 total games, had 1 goal, 5 assists for 6 points, 19 penalty minutes. He was a -5. He has played in 82 career playoff games, including all 7 last year for the Maple Leafs, which they lost in the first round. So my takeaway from today's moves, my kind of general feeling on these 2 moves. And again, I don't hate Warren Foegele. I think he's a pretty solid player, but he feels like a guy you bring in to really kind of shore up a 3rd or 4th line on a contending team. And Joel Edmundson is a slight upgrade for Andreas Englund, but to give him a 4-year deal to be a slight upgrade to Andreas Englund doesn't sit well with me. And I look at these 2 signings and I just sit back and I think, what is my takeaway from this? it feels like we're a small market team. Like we're Los Angeles, and these are the best moves we could make. This feels like something the Buffalo Sabres do, or I just that was my takeaway. And I look at Nashville and what they did and how they're going for it. And I would love to have gotten one of the three players they signed, much less those three guys that they signed. And is Nashville a big market? I mean, they certainly spent and were aggressive like a big market team. I don't know. That was just my takeaway. When I look at the moves the Kings made, it felt like something a small market team does. It didn't feel like something a major market team would do, and that's very, very disappointing and surprising. So up next, we're going to look at the Kings lineup, what it looks like right now for next season. Talk about that. That's next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. I love sports. I love sports so much. I never want them to stop. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets of any kind that I'm in the mood for: Major League Baseball, golf, soccer, NASCAR. And it's never too early to get bets down on your favorite NFL team for the upcoming season. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sports betting is not yet legal in California. However, you can still sign up at FanDuel, browse the latest betting odds and your favorite sports and teams, and go on the Sportsbook app and get in on the action from some of their free games that feature real cash prizes. No matter where you are in the Golden State, there's still plenty of options to back the underdog or the favorite. And when sports betting does become available, you've got FanDuel ready to go. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There is something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/locked-on and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Before we get into what the Kings lineup now looks like at this point, there was some more business done by the Kings since our last show that I wanted to let you know about. The Kings re-signed veteran forward Trevor Lewis, 1 year, $800,000, and they re-signed goalie Phoenix Copley, 1 year, $825,000. Lewis provides an extra veteran forward if the younger guys don't work out. Copley, if healthy, will be the veteran backup to Eric Portillo in Ontario. Now, the deadline for NHL teams to issue qualifying offers to dependent restricted free agents was 5 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, and the LA Kings ended up making qualifying offers to 4 restricted free agents, 3 that played on the team last season: forwards Quentin Byfield and Arthur Kaliev, defenseman Jordan Spence, as well as AHL goalie Eric Portillo. By issuing these offers, teams are given the right of first refusal or draft choice compensation should the player sign an offer sheet with another team. Now, the Kings still need to work out deals with all 4 of these players, and by making these qualifying offers, basically that's announcing their intentions to do just that. Now, you might wonder about Arthur Kaliev. Is he still in the Kings' plans? Well, they had to do this even if they still intend on trading him, which he has requested, so we'll see. The Kings also signed Tyler Madden, Glenn Gaudin, Jeff Malott, Jason Studnicka, and defenseman Riley Walsh as well, likely going to be AHL guys. So I mentioned at the top of the show briefly, the Kings did make a trade over the weekend during the NHL Draft. They pick up forward Tanner Jeannot from the Tampa Bay Lightning for a pair of draft picks. He is under contract for 1 more season at $2.665 million. He has a 16-team no-trade clause that kicks in for this coming season. I turned 27 in May. He's 6'2", 210 pounds. He's appeared in 227 career NHL games with 42 goals and 38 assists for 80 points and 217 penalty minutes. Jeannot burst onto the scene with the Nashville Predators in the 2021-22 season, scored 24 goals with 41 points and 130 penalty minutes. However, he has failed to come close to those numbers the following 2 seasons. The following season, his sophomore season, he had a total of 6 goals and 18 points, split between Nashville and Tampa Bay, where he was traded late in the season. This past season, 55 games, he had 7 goals and 7 assists for 14 points. He did miss a couple of months due to a lower body injury. For those that think the Kings need to get bigger and tougher, Jeannot fits that bill. He's big, he's strong, he will hit, he will fight. Question on Jeannot is, can he ever return to those numbers he put up his rookie season? If he can, he could be a significant asset. But what should we expect from him? I would say, for whatever reason, He had a magical rookie year, and I don't think we should necessarily expect something close to like that again. He's going to likely play on the third line. He's definitely a bottom six forward. He does come with attitude. He's got some more size and some toughness than guys we've had in the bottom six in the past, but 10 goals, 25 points from Tanner Jeannot would be great for this coming season. So what does the Kings lineup look like at this moment? Now, this is assuming Quinton Byfield is playing on the wing and not at center, which is where I still think he needs to be for next season, but that's me. I'm not Jim Hiller. But if it's me making the lines, the top line would be Anze Kopitar at center with Quinton Byfield and Adrian Kempe. The second line would have Philip Deneau at center with Trevor Moore and Kevin Fiala. Not bad. The third line, now this is if Byfield is not centering the third line, would have Alex Turcotte centering the third line with the newly acquired Warren Foegele on one wing and Alex Laferriere on the other. The fourth line would have Akil Thomas at center with newly acquired Tanner Jeannot and someone else. Trevor Lewis, Samuel Foegele, Arthur Kaliev, Andre Lee, someone else they add, someone else. Unless I'm forgetting someone, and I don't think I am. They're looking for another fourth line winger at this point. Defensively, you got Mikey Anderson and Drew Doughty as your top pairing, Vladislav Gavrikov and either Brant Clark or Jordan Spence on the second pairing. I'm guessing Clark. And then the third pairing would be Joel Edmundson and either Clark or Spence, with Andreas Englund being the extra defenseman. And in net, you've got Darcy Kemper and David Riddick. Are Warren Foegele and Joel Edmundson an upgrade over Victor Arvidsson and Matt Roy? No, they're not. Are the Kings better now than they were at the end of last season? No, they're not. So how are the Kings going to have a better record? Or maybe the better question is, how are they going to have more success, better results at the end of the season than they had last year? Well, I'm not going to say they won't because I don't know that. But I will say this. New coach Jim Hiller better have a lot of the right answers. Whatever the strategies and the schemes that he's going to employ better be exactly what the Kings need. The Kings are also, I know they've said they want to get uncomfortable. They want to be a team that's a little bit more aggressive, more physical, goes to the net more. A guy like Warren Foegele can certainly bring that. Tanner Jeannot certainly could be more physical. So maybe the Kings are a little bit tougher to play against in a sense, but it's hard to imagine that they're more skilled than they were last season. Now, you look at the young guys coming in and being expected to play a bigger role. Quinton Byfield needs to take a step up. I think if the Kings are going to be better than they were last year, he needs to turn into from a very good developing player to a very good player, regardless of where he plays. Brant Clark needs to come in and provide a spark. And then you've got guys like Alex Laferriere, Alex Turcotte, Akil Thomas. Those young guys need to come in and show they are solid NHL contributors. They don't have to be star players, but they've got to pull their own weight and prove that they are legitimate NHL players, and they need to do it in a hurry. The Kings also are still going to have to get the usual output from their veteran guys. But right now, it's hard to be optimistic about the Kings for next season, given, again, what they've just added, what they've lost, and what they're expected to look like for next season. Not saying it's impossible for them to be a playoff team again, but I'm saying, again, Jim Hiller is going to have to pull all the right strings. They're going to have to stay healthy, and the young guys are going to have to take a step forward. If that happens, then maybe the Kings can be where they were a year ago. But as it stands right now, with what they were looking to add, they really didn't address, to me, those needs enough in this offseason with free agency. And judging by some of the feedback I've seen so far, I think a lot of Kings fans feel the same way. We are going to touch on what the Kings did in day 2 at the NHL Draft. We'll do that next year on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Drive passion and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the price you want, it is easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. Well, in our last show, last Friday, which was recorded after the first round of the NHL Draft, we told you the Kings' first round selection was forward Liam Greentree, the 26th overall selection. That was after the Kings traded back from number 21 to 26 in a deal with the Montreal Canadiens to receive a third-round pick and an additional seventh-round pick. On Saturday, day 2 of the draft, which we haven't talked about yet, with the Kings' second-round selection, they took a goaltender with the 57th overall pick, and that was Carter George. The Kings then traded a second-round pick in 2025 and their fourth-round pick in this year's draft to the Tampa Bay Lightning for the aforementioned Tanner Jeannot. The Kings then traded their sixth-round draft pick in this year's draft and one of their seventh-round picks to the Anaheim Ducks so the Kings could move up in the sixth round and select defenseman Jared Woolley. Now, with the Kings' final pick in the seventh round, the Kings took forward James Reeder. So the Kings started the draft with 6 picks, ended up with 4, using one of the picks in a trade for a player. Now, coming up on tomorrow's show, we're going to do a deep dive on all of the Kings' draft picks, mostly on the players that were picked on Saturday, because we didn't talk about them yet. Tell you what they've accomplished so far in their young careers, tell you what scouts and draft analysts are saying about them, and we'll give the Kings an overall trade grade as well. So for you everydayers, those of you that listen and watch Locked On Kings every day, coming up on Wednesday, Jared Shaffrin of the Ontario Reign is going to join us. Now, he is out at Kings Development Camp. He's watching all these prospects in person, and that includes all all 4 of the Kings draft picks from this year. They're all at development camp, which started earlier today, which runs through Tuesday and Wednesday as well. So Jared's going to join us Wednesday night after development camp wraps up, going to tell us who looked good, who's excited about, give us a full report on these future stars, we hope, for the LA Kings. Coming up on Thursday, it is the 4th of July. We are going to have a show, and we'll have a special 4th of July themed show that we'll keep a secret, but hope you'll enjoy that special kind of a feature. And then on Friday, of course, we're going to have our annual fan feedback show, and I'm already getting emails from you guys on what the Kings did or didn't do in free agency. So I know there's going to be a lot of opinions, and all opinions are welcome, whether you agree or disagree with me or have anything you want to say about what the Kings have done in free agency. You want to talk about Warren Foegele, you want to talk about Joel Edmundson, you want to talk about Tanner Jeannot, you want to talk about the NHL draft as well, and the totality of what the Kings did, what you like, what you didn't like. Friday is your show to vent, to give your opinion, or maybe even to praise the Kings for what they've done. I don't want to assume that you're going to just agree with everything I've said. You guys are all individuals, and you are entitled to your opinions, and you can share them on our Friday fan feedback show. We would love to hear from you if you want to send an email for that. As always, the email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. And if you're watching on YouTube, you are always welcome to share your thoughts in the comments section of each episode, which is something we really enjoy because it helps the algorithm and helps people that are scrolling around out there looking for something, especially NHL content, to find the show. We would love for you to stay connected with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram. We are at Locked On LA Kings. So again, it's a busy time for the LA Kings. Lots of stuff going on. We still have contracts to figure out with Quentin Byfield and Jordan Spence and others. What's going to happen with Arthur Kaliev? Is the trade imminent? Are we going to see something happen here in the next couple of days? If we do, we'll certainly react on that. So lots of stuff going on development camp as well. So it is still a busy, busy week for the LA Kings, and we'll talk about it all right here on Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, go Kings, go.